Hello, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Hedrick, and this session is going to be about choosing your titles for your publications. Many of you probably have ideas for publications, and I'm sure you want them to succeed. And the way you assess your success, one of the things you have to do is you don't aspire for easy, challenge yourself. You have to be objective too. You have to be able to consider taking yourself outside or move yourself away from whatever relationship you have with your publication and think like an outsider would think, not just what might appeal to you and your friend. Some good objectives for your title is provide information in it, an idea of what it's about. You have to be creative, and I'm going to challenge you to think outside the box, something that other people haven't thought of, and some things that might be really clever. You have to consider the big picture. Your audience is going to be picky. I know you are yourselves. You probably have a rule where you got about 5 seconds on a link before you say, no, that's not for me, and you move on. Besides that limiting you, you should be limited in the number of words you choose, preferably 3 words or less. Tagging and keyword principles apply. You have to consider choosing a word, if possible, that others might use when they're searching, like in a Google search, for something that interests them. If you can do that, you're going to maximize the number of users you have at your publication. You have to consider what are the platforms you're going to be using, meaning, is it going to be just for online? Is it going to be for print as well? Is it going to be social media? So where and how will it be promoted? When you do that, you have to consider the legal and ethical considerations, and you have to consider FCC regulations, particularly if you're going to promote it on radio or television. Social media rules may apply as well. And both of those last two, profanity and obscenity, are things that you have to consider avoiding, especially if applicable. Because one of the things you're trying to do is you're establishing relationships between you and your readers. And one thing you might want to consider is, are you a part of Compton College or related to it? If you are, you might want to leverage that relationship to your advantage. But you have to be a principled entrepreneur as well. If that be the case, you have to be professional. And does Compton College want to be related to your publication? Diversity 101, you have to consider how you're going to market it, and you're going to have to think of ways to make it so that your readers become part of the us. And because we all group things into an us versus them. Either they're part of us or they're them, and that's a different circle from the us. So you want to have inclusion. And at the same time, you don't want to alienate or ignore people. That also goes into the political correctness and how you choose your title. You want to be distinctive and different, something that hasn't already been used. At the same time, you also want to avoid confusion. Like there are several Jacksonvilles in this country. I was at Jacksonville State University, and every time I told my friends that I was from there, they always say, how do you like Florida? And Jacksonville State is in Alabama. You don't strive for the general, and again, follow political correctness. And by don't strive for the general, meaning you aren't striving for general audiences, and you don't want to be kind of generic about your publication, because you want to be niche marketed. Magazines are niches. They have specific target audiences. These target audiences have demographics, physical and mental. Gender, age, income, and married are examples of demographics. A demographic person might be a female, aged 18 to 35, not married, with no children. She deals with weight gain, and she has a household income under $40,000. I bet that might be some of you. You also might be concerned with your health or appearance. You maybe want to be healthy, but you don't want to invest a lot of time in it. You may be a fan of Instagram, and online gaming. That person may favor economics over quality when they're considering spending. They value online with small groups when they're doing their interactions and socializing. And the person might prefer music through iPods as a way of listening. Economics, the target audience. Like I say, you have to identify your target audience, the psychographics and demographics, and you have to make sure, if you're going to expand this publication later on, that the psychographics and demographics, your users, might be appealing to advertisers who might have something, a product or a service that they want to promote and are willing to spend money on that will make your publication grow and be the source of its revenue. So it's audience driven. You have to consider your audiences, and audiences are driven by uses and gratifications. They use things because they're a gratifying experience to them. And they create a hierarchy of needs of importance when they're making decisions, like for their publications. You have different appeals. Again, it's audience driven. Your priority is going to need to be for your target niche, your first, not a general thing, a target niche, and you need to be creative. Strategy 2, you might want to consider geographics and regional, and you might want to consider Compton as a precursor. That would be easy because you already have a relationship with your city, and some of the population of the city might be inclined to use your publication or to visit it. That is also a part of creating in us again, and the creativity. Always, I'm going to be stressing this. I'll bet all of you have seen this movie. Maybe some of you have, some of you haven't. Straight Outta Compton. Straight Outta Compton, you might want to use Straight Out of as a precursor. If your content or your publication is close to the context or the content of the movie. You might also want to use the word out of, because a lot of people are going to get where the out of comes from as a precursor word, because before your pre-word that identifies your other word that identifies the content of the publication. Both of these are examples of being creative and informative. Now, of course, not everybody's going to know who NYA are. I'm sure most of you do. But tell you the truth, I didn't know who all of these people were. And of course, Compton. Does everybody know where Compton is and know that it's Compton in California? No, not everybody is aware of who they are. Not everybody knows where Compton is. Not everybody is also going to know what a word means. So you got to try to avoid a slang or a nickname in your title. Not everyone will get it. Strategy 5, the inclusion of the target. Do they know? Will this title be easy to remember? Can it be shared outside without offending anybody? And there's a lot to consider in this when you're choosing your title. Perspective. Some of the final considerations, I'll give you some examples here. Council of Enrod, Williams Tennis, and Hidden Figures. Did I pique your interest? What do you think? Martian movie. There was a reference in the Martian movie. It's a space movie because I love space movies. The Council of Elrond was in the movie, and it was referenced by the NASA people when they had their meeting. There was about 5 guys and there's 1 lady at this meeting. All the 5 guys got the reference to the Council of Elrond, but the woman was saying, "What the heck is that?" And when they told her, "Don't you know it's in the Lord of the Rings? It's fantasy." She exclaimed, "I hate you guys. I hate all of you." It's because it was a guy thing, and she felt excluded. And you got the Williams sisters in tennis. This appeals to both genders, and it's stronger for the female population. So if you want to piggyback on them, that might not be a bad idea, if you can. Hidden Figures. I'm giving you this as an example of a title that was very cleverly chosen. It was about 3 African-American women of NASA. And these women in NASA were human computers. So they were figures, and the people are figures. But when you're a computer, you compute numbers or figures. So this is a very clever word choice. So in conclusion, might be You might be multi-platform reliant in your publication. You're going to need to develop an online presence in social media. That's a free and easy way to promote it. You got to make the title user-friendly, easy yet strategic, and it's a real winner if you can claim the page, meaning if you look and search in the exact words, exact characters of your title, .com hasn't been chosen yet. That would be fantastic. Now, if you're going to follow Compton College and the color format and the color scheme, when you're doing the print version, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to use this color code and this hexadecimal here. And I hope you all enjoyed this presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But I hope you enjoyed it regardless.